Hello, everyone. Welcome to the maiden edition of this X Space brought to you by Yes Africa, minding Africa's business. I am your host, Olorun Toba. Basically, Yes Africa is a platform dedicating to bringing you top news stories, business stories across Africa to help you stay updated with what is happening in the business world across the continent. We also explore government policies, investment opportunities to put the continent ahead in the global business map. So you can check out our website, yesafricabis.com, for more information and daily updates regarding business stories across Africa. So we cover West Africa, East Africa, North Africa. If it's business and it's happening in Africa, you can rely on yesafricabis.com. So this space holds every Wednesday, 5 p.m. Today is the maiden edition. We'll be discussing top business stories, giving you analysis of different economic issues, investment tips. We'll also be spotlighting top investment ideas in Africa, maybe tech startups, and what have you. So today we'll be looking at the recent appreciation of the dollar against the naira against the dollar, I should say. We'll be assessing the various strategy of the Central Bank of Nigeria (CBN) towards achieving a more stable FX markets in the country. So we have our analyst joining us to answer some of the questions regarding the topic. Is Charles Abuede, is a research analyst. Charles, thank you for being a part of this. Good evening, Charles. Great to have you.
A pleasure here. Good
Great
evening,
to have you.
everyone.
As I said, that's the topic we'll be looking at. The Naira has been appreciating the last couple of days. In fact, it reaches highest level, highest value in the unofficial markets this year. As at Tuesday morning, it was quoted at the buying price of 1,520 Naira per dollar. Currently, the currency is enjoying an unusual phase of stability a year after experiencing a depreciation against the dollar. Since the relaxation of foreign exchange controls in 2023, the Naira lost about 70% of its value against the US dollar. So the CBN, in response, they've implemented all kinds of foreign exchange intervention and policy initiative aimed at strengthening the Naira. This includes stricter regulation for broad exchange operators and also enhancing dollar liquidity in the official market. So we're going to be looking at some of these measures. How effective have they been? These measures sustainable? Is this contrary to the initial plan of allowing the forces of demand and supply to dictate the value of the FX market? And also we'll be looking at investment tip as well. For those who have dollar, is it time to sell or to hold based on the trend that we're seeing right now? Some of these trends that we're seeing, especially on Tuesday morning, with the Naira reaching its highest value in over a year, about 1,520 Naira per dollar. Is this a sign that the CBN strategy of, for instance, selling the FX to BDC operators, in fact, they've extended the sale till May, is this a sign that it is working, flooding the market with supply to ensure that it crashes demand?
All right. Thank you very much. And it's a great pleasure to be here. So the recent pocket of gains we've seen in the Naira, has been, say, the offshoots from the policies that has been implemented by the CBN, since he came into office September 2023. He has been engaged in several, reforms for the FX market, just to ensure that, there is stability and also to shape the FX market in Nigeria. And what we've seen this year so far in 2025 rather, has really been, gains from those policies since, he took over office. So let me just take us briefly around, just give us a highlight of like some of the policies that were implemented in 2024, actually. First was, coming with, as in asking banks to actually report their FX exposures, having a minimum of maximum 25% short, actually, and 0% long, as far as their foreign currency holdings is concerned. Then the introduction of the electronic, matching system into the FX market, streamlining the BDC operators, during the, from, I think from 5,000 to around 1,005 or so, then also started selling FX to BDCs, a lot of even them more rates for the IMTOs, International Monetary and Transfer Operators, in Nigeria, So these are some of the ideas, or let me say reforms, that the CBN has brought into the system. And now we are seeing the gain. So the gain so far we've seen, you know, being at least from a high of around the 1007, 1008 at the official market. And, as at Tuesday morning, we're seeing 1520. And today, actually, we closed today, we've seen 1511, to the dollar. And this is actually because now the dollar is looking weak, And so for me, I think the strategies or policies of the CBN is beginning to pay off, and we are beginning to see some level of stability in in the naira, in the across the FX windows, either the official market or the foreign market. And with this, just generally, yeah, just so far 2025, naira has actually gained 1.8% so far 2025, and this basically has been since the revaluation in June 2023. We've seen the movement of the naira, in a different format, and this appreciation, yes, in 2023, we saw diaspora remittance, a positive movement, and we had the highest in I think July. Yeah, July 2024 was the historic high in terms of remittances inflow into Nigeria. Then I think last week or so, the CBN announced plans to clear some FX backlogs, which was around 7 billion, 6.8, 6.9 billion or thereabout dollars. And so that alone gave speculators in the market that, oh, something's about to happen, and so there's a need for us to, hold our naira close and offload the dollars. And because of that, so those who were actually longing, taking the long position on the dollar, took a reverse decision to short the dollar and then take a long position on the naira because of
It's interesting that you highlighted the increase in diaspora remittances. There's also what the CBN governor calls increased investor confidence, which was highlighted in the kind of the number of subscription that the Eurobond, I think it was in December, that it got after the bond issuance. That this also helped in strengthening the naira. But let's focus again on this policy of the CBN, like the sale of the FX to BDCs. There is a major concern that the country's reserve is currently being depleted by this, because according to data from the CBN, the reserve was about $40.8 billion on the 2nd of January, but by the 30th of January, it had fallen to about $39.7 billion. This represents about 2.7% decrease within 1 month. So this decline is following this ongoing intervention by the CBN, the foreign exchange market, as well as external debt servicing obligations. So if we're flooding the market with supply and there's a concern that the reserve is being depleted, I mean, is this policy sustainable? Is this not a major concern for the CBN going forward?
very correct, like what you said about the FX reserves depleting, and that points to one thing that CBN likely, has been defending the naira, across or in the official market in the FX, window with, making use of our FX reserves just to defend the naira, to keep the value, in good condition. So this alone, that's why we have seen the reserves, declining, and like you rightly said, it has depleted from 40.8 billion as at start of the year, and now even as at the latest data from the CBN website, which is around the 39.27 billion, thereabouts. So that is roughly 1.6 billion dollars loss. And with this, we have seen the FX market now awash with liquidity. And when there is supply, definitely demand will reduce. And once demand stays abated, then it means that we are going to see some level of appreciation for the local currency. Yeah. Also, I can take a cue from the Eurobond auction, which was done late last year, and that was based on the global economic dynamics actually, which led to that. And we have seen a level of confidence from investors by holding naira assets, and because of, say, focusing on Nigerian FGN instruments, I mean dollar denominated FGN instruments. And so this has created some level of confidence that investors are beginning to take position. in the Naira. So over the period between December and now, yes, with the pressure, for those demanding for FX, manufacturers, importers, demanding for FX, for either or even FX users for BTA or PTA, purposes. CBN had to take a strategic measure by, flooding this market with so much dollar, and that's why we're seeing this level of confidence. For sustainability, we can't tell because this same thing last year, early last year, we saw some level of appreciation, between January and April 24. And this was also part of strategies by the CBN, just to defend the Naira and to see some level of gains. And that made investors to come in. But later on, you know, we began to see some kind of market distortions,
the gains last year, I believe.
yes, last. So if checking that the trend, we saw some gains for the Naira early last year, majorly between February and March. Naira actually moved to a good position around the 1,003, 1,004, down to May, down to June 2024. So these gains actually was as a result of the policies, being put in place by the CBN, as well as further inflows, the economy as a result of FX earning. So we saw from crude sales actually, we saw in the oil market how the oil price was, oscillating, and then got to a good position, close to $100, sometime last year, and you know Nigeria had some earnings and also some form of inflows. So all these, happen to be increase the buffers for the CBN, and they have to use that also to, defend the Naira, just to ensure we continue to see some level of appreciation. But for the sustainability of this,
Before we talk
all right,
about the sustainability, I just want to quickly point out something. You talked about the fact that the reserve is depleting shows that the CBN is obviously defending Naira. So is this not contrary to what we were told when the Naira was floated, and the subsidy was removed, that, both the price of the Naira against the dollar will be determined by market forces? So does this mean that the CBN is still, how do I say it now, stylishly intervening in the market, even though what we are made to believe is that there is total deregulation, the government has hands off. What we're having is demand and supply determining the price of the dollar, of the Naira against the dollar.
of course, one of the major core of the CBN is stability within the FX market, just to ensure that stability, to ensure transparency, to, implement, say, risk management, and also to promote ethical practices within the financial, foreign exchange market. So yes, the government decided to, remove subsidy on PMS, and, just to ensure that we have some savings, from crude oil sales and all that. But the CBN had to do what it had to do, which is to continue to defend the Naira from the income or the revenue earned from FX sales, or the savings we have from subsidy removal, and all that. All this will, culminate into accretion in the FX reserves. But owing to demand, in the market by FX users or importers, as well as manufacturers, and the likes, we have the CBN had to do what it had to do. And that's why we have seen, even at the point of removing the PMS on, sorry, subsidy on PMS, and also the evaluation of the FX market, where we saw the value of the Naira jump from around 460 to 723 till now. And so we have seen the impact not just on FX users, but also on corporates. We saw some corporates leaving as a result of this, incoherent FX policies which we have in Nigeria. So all these, the CBI will definitely come out to like, oh, we're not defending the Naira, we're not doing this. But it's out there, the figures is out, they're out there, and it's so obvious that despite that Naira is gaining, but we are seeing the reserves depleting. The governments, are coming up to say, oh, we have 2 trillion of, or 4 to 5 trillion Naira in FX savings, as a result of subsidy removal and the likes. But we're not seeing, the impact in the market. Instead, we're seeing the opposite. Whereas all these measures being taken were supposed to, translate to positive, appreciation, or just appreciation of the local currency against the dollar. But instead, the forces of demand and supply, which will always play its, part in the market, has continued to, move around. But the CBN will continue to do what it has to do because of stability, and also look at the interest rate development, which is high. For corporates that will be, seeking for funds elsewhere, they also have to consider FX, issues as regards, repayment of their loans, either foreign or locally, from the international debt market. And so CBN will have to do what it has to do. And that's why in 2023 also and 24, major corporates recorded FX losses. So the CBN had to, and some corporates, companies here in Nigeria, sorry about that. Some companies here in Nigeria were actually exiting. And the crush of the, matter has to be FX, issues. And that has been the call for the CBN. And so they have to continue defending the Naira, regardless of the news out there, because the numbers is kind of obvious and it's looking like, okay, I think in my view, I would say definitely that the CBN is defending Naira, in the market, just because when we have, though weaker Naira has translated to a lot of things, but the weaker Naira also is affecting purchasing power of Nigerians. So price stability is a core for the CBN. So it has to do the necessary things, for us to feel the pain at the moment and later on see the positive effects. And that's what we have seen, some level of gains in the FX market with the depletion or not with the depletion. And when diaspora remittance, is not flowing as expected, if we check the capital importation report, we saw, a decline in FDI. Portfolio investors also come into Nigerian market just to hold, our assets, Naira denominated assets in Nigerian market. They also have to consider the Naira and talk about repatriation of their funds. So CBN had to do what it had to do just to attract investors into the market.